Wondered why you are in the state where you are now. You're wondering, oh, what is going on with me? So many progress in life, they're doing so many things, they're actualizing so many things, and you're wondering what is wrong with me. Some even go to the extent of having to consider themselves cursed because they think, oh, they're not making progress, nothing is working for them, so that means they must be cursed. But that is not the case. Here are some questions you need to ask yourself. Two, actually. The first one is having to reflect on what you should be doing now. What you should be doing now. You need to ask yourself, what am I supposed to be doing now? What am I supposed to be doing towards where I am getting to, or the future, right? So you need to ask yourself that question. If you haven't asked yourself that question, then you're doing yourself harm by having to compare yourself with other people. Because when you do ask yourself that question, it saves you from so many, comparison, pressure, like internal pressure, pressurizing yourself, because things are not working well at the time they should. So you need to actually sit down, reflect on what you should be doing now, what you're supposed to be doing towards where you're getting to or will become in the future, right? So those are the steps you need to take. I am also very well aware that some of you may be asking, how do I get to know what I'm supposed to be doing now, or working towards, where I'm getting to, what the future? Well, having a relationship with God is one ticket to knowing what you're supposed to be doing now and where you are headed, right? I know some of you might think it sounds like a cliche, but that is the truth. One of the tickets to knowing what you're supposed to be doing currently is having a relationship with God. Having a relationship with God is an having to having a glimpse of what your now is, of what your future is, right? Having a depth to an extent about your creation as a person. So that cannot be overemphasized. There are other, benefits to having a relationship with God. Of course, the first one is to worship Him, before other benefits is attached to it. But that is one means at which you can know what you're meant to be doing. You can also pray with Ephesians 1:15-19, praying that the eyes of your understanding may enlighten, that your eyes is clear and focused to knowing what God wants you to do part time, and that you're filled with the knowledge of His will. What best way is there to know, what you're meant to be doing than asking from the person who created you? Right. So the second thing you should know is that, whether you might have started together with your friend, the timing differs, the timing to manifesting, all of these things, things you're meant to be doing, things you're meant to become differs. Why? Because everybody have different timing, everybody have different processes to doing things, to actualizing things, to their becoming, right? Everybody have different timing processes. They go through different processes. The journey differs, all right? The space is also, different. So even if you're related by blood, you can never, tend to manifest things at the same time, right? The timing difference, the spacing difference, the process is different. That you're staying in a roof with someone doesn't mean that you will both go through the same processes. No, it differs. So if you get to know these two things, it will save you so greatly from having to sit in self-pity, wallow in self-pity, and the foolishness of having to compare yourself, just like 2 Corinthians 10:12 says, right? It will be so unwise that you get to, constantly keep comparing yourself with other people, right? So don't get me wrong, right? There's a place for healthy competition, right? We find that in the business world where, maybe people that are into the same production are doing a particular thing and you want to stand out. It's a different thing when it is you having to work towards standing out or doing or projecting whatever it is you're doing differently than, having to pull someone down or drag someone down to being at the top. That's not what I'm talking about, right? So ensure that, you do these two things, and trust me, rather than focusing on what people are doing to get it to where they are doing, you would focus on yourself, to working towards being a better version of yourself, right? Bye.